Hello. The Divine Code reading for December 29th, pages 409 and 410. We are in the chapter Laws of a Pursuer and Self-Defense. And at the end of topic number 7, which discusses difficulties in childbirth. If before the childbirth, or at the beginning of the childbirth, there's a question, there's a choice that has to be made between the fetus and the mother. The halakha is to save the life of the mother, if it's a choice between one or the other. At the point of where the child is in the process of birthing, where either half of the body, in the case of a breech birth, or in a normal birth, if the majority of the head is been delivered, has come out, then if both the mother or the fetus, one or the other, is in threat of death, but not both. If one is liable to live and the other one might die, then that choice is made by the circumstance, and we would save the one that is liable to live and do what's possible for the other. If it's the case where the fetus is considered mostly born, and something is troubling the situation that both will die if nothing is done, then the halakha would be to save the life of the mother rather than the life of the baby. That's the way the halakha works. Now, it's not normal in today's circumstances that this situation comes up in a hospital. In modern hospitals, this question would not necessarily come up, but if the birth is happening in the woods, and assuming we have a doctor who's knowledgeable enough to make that call, that's the call that would be made, is that the mother's life would be, if it's a case of both possibly dying, the mother's life would be preserved rather than the baby's. If it's one, if nothing would be done, both would die. And the footnote on this, footnote 104, this is the opinion of Panim Mirot, volume 3, chapter 8, and Tiferet Israel Boaz Tractate Okalat, end of chapter 7. Although they are writing in reference to a Jew, it appears that the same law would apply to Gentiles. See Igrit Moshe Koshen Mitzvot, volume 2, 69.2, who explains that unless the head of the fetus has emerged, it cannot be considered to be alive as the mother. The same would apply here. If it is determined after the head emerges, the fetus will die. The same logic would apply here. So yeah, that's the question of after the fetus has died. If we're in a situation in any of these scenarios, if we're in a situation where both the mother and the fetus would die, the choice would be towards the mother, choosing the mother if it's one or the other. In the case where if nothing is done, both the mother and the baby would both die. Rabbi Zalman Nechemia Goldberg rules that notes that it appears that for a fetus that will be stillborn, this is the correct ruling. If the fetus is not stillborn, but will die in any case as a result of the birth process, it is still considered to be a completely alive person, even if the fetus is actually or medically equivalent to a mortally wounded person. Rabbi Goldberg thus brings the following question: if the danger from the labor is classed as a natural process by the hand of heaven, in which either the fetus or the mother will die, but not both, then the fetus itself would not be classed as a pursuer of the mother's life. In this case, it is not clear that the fetus should be treated any differently than the law of a mortally wounded person, in which case a Gentile would be considered fully liable for murder if he kills it. So in this case, would it be forbidden to kill the fetus to save the mother, even though taking no action will otherwise cause the death of both? So this is a theoretical question. If it's a difficult situation, is it permissible if both would die, and if it's considered something that's in the hands of heaven at that point, that both would die, is it permissible to kill the fetus once the fetus has been halachically considered born, once most of the head is out of the body, is out of the womb, or most, in the case of a breech birth, most of the body that's like up to the navel is the threshold? If in that case, is it permissible to choose to kill the child, the now halachically born child, in order to save the mother's life? Because the child is not considered a pursuer in a case where both would die if nothing was done. And this is a question. It's a question, but we also have a practical situation in front of us. Would we kill the child and save the mother at this point? Because to actively do something would involve killing the child. When the child is already mortally wounded, but we're not allowed to kill a person who's mortally wounded. That's already been determined. It's not permissible to do that. The author responds. That's the author of the Divine Code, is responding to this question that the Talmud in Tractate Sanhedrin 72b only instructs no intervention in the case of a natural process in which one of them will live and the other would die. So the Talmud is making a rule that if we're in a situation where in one scenario the baby's going to live but the mother's going to die, or another scenario the mother's going to live and the baby's going to die, that's if nothing is done, then the choice has been made. It's considered that heaven has made the choice, and we are to function with working with the person, either the mother or the child, that is by divine providence the one that's going to survive the situation, the difficult birth. For example, in Genesis 35, 16 to 20, when Rachel died giving birth to Benjamin, after most of the child's body had already emerged. Because we know that Rachel named the child. So the child was halachically born at the point that Rachel died. But if the fetus will die no matter what, at least the mother should be saved, even by killing the fetus, if that is the only way. So in this situation, they're joined, and the only way to break them apart is to kill one or kill the other. Then the choice would be made to save the mother's life by killing the fetus, because there's a slight, not as red, the blood is not as red in the case of the baby, even though the baby is halachically born. There's still like a 30-day thing with babies. So the mother's life does take a slight amount of precedence over the baby in that case. In the case where if nothing was done, both would die. The mother would have a slightly more important status of life. Topic number 8. Where two people are each trying to kill each other. Okay, so now we're done with the whole questions of childbirth, and now we're getting back into the main topic of the laws of pursuer. Okay, topic number 8. Where two people are each trying to kill each other. It is permissible for others to help one of them by killing the opponent as a pursuer. So how a person would make this decision. Now, we know that in the case of the childbirth, we just learned that the mother's life has a halachically slight it's just a little bit more than the child, than the newborn child, halachically newborn child. But how would it be if we just saw two people, fully grown people? Okay, so this can be learned from the case in topic 7, in which a woman's life is being threatened by the process of childbirth. Say Tractate Sanhedrin 72b, that if the head of the fetus or most of the body had come out, one may not harm it, since it is the natural process that is threatening the mother's life. However, this gives no conclusion where both the mother and the fetus are, so to speak, pursuing each other. So in the Jerusalem Talmud, Tractate Sanhedrin, end of chapter 8, the reason given for the prohibition of killing the fetus after the head is merged is only due to the fact that we now know who we do not know who the pursuer is. However, if it is clear that each is endangering the other's life, it is permissible to kill the fetus to save the mother. Now, okay, so we're basing this new situation on the child. In the case of the birthing of the child, the mother's life has halachically a little bit more precedence over the life of the child, just a little bit, even though the life of the child is still considered to be a human life, a full human life at that point. But because of the situation, the mother's life has a slight precedence over the child. Now we're in a brawl where two people are trying to kill each other. So how do we determine one or the other? And unfortunately, the divine code kind of leaves that part out. Okay, I'm going to say topic number 8 again because it's very short. When two people are trying to kill each other, it is permissible for others to help one of them by killing the opponent as a pursuer. And how that decision is made. Now, we know in the case of the mother giving birth, we know how that decision is made. How the decision is made in topic 8, I don't have a clue, and it's going to need a lot more explanation. I mean, apparently, perhaps it's the case where it would be in the hands of heaven to decide what happened. We're kind of looking at a ballroom brawl here where two people are trying to kill each other and then other people jump in. Is it permissible for other people to jump in? And I would suggest that that's still an open question. Topic number 9. There is no Noahide law of pursuer for a Gentile who wishes to commit a sin in general, other than murder. Therefore, The Gentile is determined to commit idolatry, eat from a limb of a living animal, or steal money, or the like. One may not prevent the person from sinning by injuring him. See the Rambam, The Laws of Murderers, 111. One should rather warn the would-be violator about the severity of the forbidden action, and if he still sins, he can be judged in a court of law. So if a person is committing the variety of sins, the 7 Noahide laws, except for other than murder, which is definitely the area of a pursuer. These others, if a person is pursuing to steal something, it would be proper to tell the person. It might be proper to tell the warrant, call the police or something, that someone's planning to do something. We would not be permitted to kill the person, to stop him, or even to injure the person, to stop him from committing the theft or doing any of these other sins. Likewise, but it would be the job of the police and the job of the courts to handle the person. Likewise, it is clear that if it is clear the pursuer only wishes to strike the victim non-lethally, and this is the apparent intention of the verse in Deuteronomy 25:11-12, you shall cut off her hand. Since the woman is a pursuer who is in the act of injuring a man in his private parts, as explained in Rambam, Laws of Murderers, even though she is acting to save her husband from the attacker. This is also, even though from this it is clear that one may only kill a pursuer whose intention is to kill. It is also clear in Orachaim on Deuteronomy 25:11-12. So after the fact, cutting off the hand is a reference to what a court would assess the value of a hand to be her fine. She would pay the price of that a person would be willing to pay not to have their hand cut off. How much money would a person be willing to pay if the person had gangrene in their hand and they had to have their hand cut off? What would the person be willing to pay not to have that happen? To go with a better quality doctor, how much would the person be willing to pay for that? That's after the fact. But during the fact, if the woman is injuring the man, he does what is necessary to prevent the injury, which in this case is cutting off the hand. He would not be permitted to kill the woman to prevent the injury to him. He would only be permitted to do what is the minimal amount necessary to stop the attack. Or if the man is pursuing for the purpose of rape, or to sever a limb, or if a man is pursuing for the purpose of rape, that is a man who is pursuing a Gentile woman to rape her, whether or not she would be a forbidden partner to him within the Noahide code. For example, the wife of another man, or if the man is pursuing another man to commit sodomy. But in the area of that would be a question for after the fact, that the court might execute a person for raping a person. That would be an executable offense, even if it was not rape. But in the case of a pursuer, or not, it's the it would be a permitted person. Even if the person is permitted in a more peaceful situation, in the case of rape, the law of pursuer for that would apply, but that's considered under the auspices of injury. It's considered an injury rather than a full murder in the case of rape. A Gentile may not save the victim by killing the pursuer. Now, I believe we learned earlier that the person who's being attacked might be able to kill the attacker if that's the only way they can get out of it. But for a person that is getting involved, a third party that's going to prevent, that's going to stop the pursuer, the third party would not be allowed to kill the person to stop an injury or a rape situation. Only the victim of the attack would be in a position to be able to kill in order to get out of the situation. The standard buyer who gets involved has permission to injure the person who is the pursuer, the attacker. See, Minhok Kinok, Commandment 296, who says it is clear for Gentiles there is no Torah law obligation to save a Gentile victim from a pursuer who has a non-lethal intent, and therefore it is forbidden for a Gentile to kill someone who is pursuing a Gentile for rape, even if it is for forbidden relations. So the forbidden in the case of in this case of the actual attack, the forbidden relations is not an issue. It is not looked at. It's the question of someone's being attacked, and we're not allowed to kill the attacker, but we are to injure the attacker to the extent necessary to stop the attack. And then afterwards, it would be the job of the police and the courts to deal with the attacker. Therefore, if it is clear that the pursuer doesn't intend to kill, it is forbidden to kill him. However, it is permissible for the onlooker or the victim in self-defense to injure the pursuer to prevent him from committing injury or rape. See Shulchan Aruch Harav, Laws of Bodily Damage, Topic 2. However, if there is a possibility that the pursuer actually intends to kill, or even if he does not intend to kill, but his actions may turn to a life-threatening situation for any reason. So in a case of attack, it's not that it's possible in the case of attack for a injury situation, such as a serious injury, where the person's attacking the person to injure him, or the person's attacking someone to rape him, to rape the victim. It's possible that could turn into a life-threatening situation for the victim. Then the usual ruling of a pursuer applies, that one does anything to a pursuer to save the victim, and if there is no other choice, he may kill the pursuer, as stated by the sages, Tractate Sanhedrin 72a, one who comes to kill you, precede him and kill him. Meaning that if there's a possibility the pursuer comes to kill, and this is clear from the Talmud, Tractate Sanhedrin 72a, if the sun shines on him, it is clear that you come to kill. And Rambam, Laws of Thieves 9:5. And in the Laws of Thieves, if a person breaks into a house, it can be assumed that the person, if he's the person who breaks into someone else's house, it can be assumed that person is ready to kill if need be. Therefore, it would be permitted to kill the person who broke into the house. It'd be permitted to kill the person in self-defense, if that's the only way to deal with the situation. One should quickly kill the pursuer first and not wait to verify if he indeed intends to kill. So this is the fog of real life. If there's an attack going on and there's a reasonable possibility that it could turn deadly, then it's possible to stop the attacker by any means necessary. By any means necessary means by the least necessary means. So if it's possible to prevent the attacker by non-lethal means, that's best. But if it's only possible to kill the attacker, then that's what needs to be done. In such a situation where it's ambiguous, you err on the side of protecting the victim. Thank you.